Vocal recording, we did that recording in like, I don't know, couple of days. And and we worked days and
for
nights.
The whole album, you mean?
For the whole album. The recording was like couple, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, maybe a week, not more than that.
Yeah.
Pretty much, maybe, I don't remember right, but this is my memory of that thing.
Good times in the 90s.
Very good times in the 90s.
Yeah.
In any event, an exceptional vocalist, Yehuda Solomon. This is an exceptional vocalist. I don't know if you met him or you had the privilege to work with him.
I've had the privilege of hearing him live, and
just
as an audience member.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So that was a funny story. I was finishing recording, I don't know what, maybe a cello or something, like 1 a.m. in the morning. And we worked basically on a guide voice, and which the guide voice was great because Yehuda is a great vocalist. So I liked to work on the guide voice, and I thought maybe I would keep it even.
Yeah.
But then I would say, you know what? Why I wouldn't get another take of him? And he was sleeping on the couch. That was 1:30 in the morning. I woke him up, and I said, Yehuda, let's come let's do vocals. He took a glass of water, went into the booth, knock me down on one take, and that's the song that I've sent you, The Way Over. Mm-hmm. That's a one take.
Wow.
1:30 in the morning after he was sleeping.
Yeah.
So, it's very, very different from one, vocalist to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every vocal is a story.
Right.
So what are some of your favorite creative tools in the studio, and why?
Creative tools. Well, there's recording tools that I'm using, which I'm not like a gear geek.
Yeah.
Basically, I have a nice selection of microphones. One of my favorites is 4-on-4 ULS, like vintage kind of 80 AKG. I love that. It's kind of all around mic and also capturing a lot of nice stuff on the bottom end, which my Neumann won't.
Yeah.
So I got a nice selection of microphones. I'm not too spoiled. I went for a nice tube channel and a nice solid state channel. And I have more solid state preamps if I need to record drums or stuff like that. But that basically are my tools in terms of capturing this stuff. I got nice acoustics. I got a separate room so I can play the music through my monitors. I like that. I like playing the music as it happened through the monitors. I think it's something that it's fading out today, right? When all the producers, most of them got one room kind of whole thing.
Every once in a while, for the audience to imagine this. In the other room, I have a piano in the living room here, so I'll occasionally record the piano from here, just using a snake, and when that happens, I can actually listen back on my monitors, and it is very nice. Although very nice. I don't have eye contact with the musician at that point, but it is nice to hear it live coming out of the speakers. You do get a fuller sense of what the capture is than using headphones.
It's very right. So that's a nice tool that I'm always used to work like that, because I always work like that.
Yeah.
If I didn't work in my studio like that, I worked with different studios like that.
Yeah.
When I did more freelance engineering, running around the country. But now I have that also in my studio, which is great. And this is a tool that I like. The acoustic is a tool that I like.
The acoustics of the room.
Of the room, different parts of the room. I know they will sound better for different applications.
Oh, cool.
So I would use that. Yeah, that's basically it. I love my converters. I'm using A to D and D to A converters, which are great. They make the sound really, really different from the ground up. So basically I'm not crazy I won't go and spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a gear. I've learned throughout the years what I like, what works for me. And I went to that.
Amazing. Do you have any creative tools in terms of instruments that you like to use?
Creative tool, that instrument. Well, again, it's a question about templates, basically, which I don't like.
Yeah.
I like to see what the song needs and to use it, when it needs it. Not to go, okay, I got this, I got that, let's use that all the time. It's not my way. It's not, my way is to try to understand what will make the song better. So creative tools could be all around and different instrument. And a lot of my creative tools are people also.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
I've produced people, I've produced, players, which they are creative by themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
And as soon as you give a player some room, that's a very powerful creative tool.
Yeah. I love that.
I have a mindset of how things should sound and how I would like them to sound eventually, but I will always hear how the player will interpret it first, how he sees that first. Interpret it. Sorry, my English is not that
No, your
great.
English is great, man.
It's okay.
English is great.
In any event, throughout the years, you select people that are your creative tools, and I got a big bunch of
in your back pocket,
in my backpack pocket for any application, and the human factor is
the biggest factor.
Is the biggest factor, more than gear, more than templates, more than plugins, more than hardware, and more than anything. I can make a good song, a great sounding song with shitty.
Yeah.
Sorry for the word.
No, you're allowed to. We always put a big E on this
beautiful,
podcast.
shitty gear.
Yeah.
And I did that, and it happened. So again, I would say, and I'll repeat myself. The song is what it takes over.
Yeah, sure. So all of that said, do you think you do anything specifically that gives you a trademark sound?
Trademark sound. I don't know. Do I have a trademark sound?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Again, so trademark, I don't know. It belongs to a different time.
Yeah.
Trademark sound, Bob Clear Mountain on drums
exactly.
and
I was
stuff
thinking
like
of like
that.
the Bryan Adams
Brian
records.
Eno on U2 guitars, But if you take today's producers, they are basically going where the production takes them and where the song takes them, and each song can sound different even on the same album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It really depends on the song itself. Again, I'm starting to be boring about this, but
that's okay.
But this is what it is.
Yeah. So how do you balance your creative vision with what the artist is going for?
Oh, we talk about it. We talk about it to see, how do we look at things. I know that some of my artists that I like, coming back artists. Are like
returning customers, I guess.
Returning artist.
Yeah,
I would say better.
It's a better word.
Yeah. No, more or less. My
way of working.
My way of working. My visions. But it's always something new.
Yeah,
it's always something new. We will always found a different path together, and it's crazy times in the studio because it's great to work together with an artist and to find ways to make the song sound better, found new parts to different players, which I am a nudge about. I do want to get that part that I hear in my head, and I would make the player play it for me if that's what I think it should be done to that production. But again, together with an artist, I love to produce together. I'm not that kind of a producer who would say, okay, everybody listen to me. This is my agenda, and this is my vision, and this is where we're going to go.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about it because I love to get input from the artist itself because that's his stuff. He wrote it.
Yeah.
That's his music.
Yeah.
You wanna produce on his ballpark.
Yeah. It also adds that when you have two heads working, you're going to get something that's bigger than the sum of its parts usually, right?
Beautiful. Yeah, this is what it is. It's more than two heads, and each and every player that comes in, each and every a guy that comes into my studio, I will use him. I will use him to get new ideas, to hear how he hears it.
Yeah. Amazing.
This is very important, I think.
Do you have any rituals or routines that you do to either get or stay inspired?
I got my Buddha doll. No, I'm just joking. Routines to get inspired?
Yeah, it could be like you take a run every day, or it could be.
Oh, I do some sports, but I don't think that connects really hard. Maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah, it might keep your head clear.
Could be. I don't know. I'm trying to get to be fresh every morning with ideas and clear my head with different stuff that I'm working on. I don't have a cellular reception in my studio, so this is great
Yeah.
I can't have calls and get, make calls. I leave all that to off studio hours. I'm trying to get, focused on stuff and not get distracted. And this helps me. I'm trying not to be all around, all the new media stuff and social stuff too much. I'm there every once in a while. I'm not, it's a time consuming and energy consuming thing.
Totally.
So I'm trying not to hang in there. That's basically what it is. Every day is a fresh day. It's a new day. You come up with your, with your mindset that day. I will always check up my work in a different days. I will never make decisions based on one day work, even though I will think they sounded great on that day.
Yeah.
I will go back and check it. I will check mixing. I will check my mastering. I will check my recording. I will check my arrangement every new day that I'm working on that project.
Yeah, because nothing gives you objectivity than time removed from the work that you're doing.
Even if it's a night's sleep.
Yeah,
because if I'm working and it happens a lot, 14, 16 hours straight in the studio, your hearing is changing throughout the day.
Right.
You hear less highs in the end of the day. You make different decision upon that, especially when you mix. I would never EQ my recordings. When I'm capturing them, when I do recordings, I will never EQ, I will never compress. I always like to leave them fresh. And there's a lot of headrooms today. 32-bit float on digital systems are amazing headroom.
Yeah.
Back in those days when we had tape, we had to compress some of the stuff to go in.
Sure.
Because the dynamic range wasn't that great. It was great, but it wasn't that great. But today the dynamic range is unbelievable. It's absurd. Yeah. So I don't like to change. I don't like to make decisions on my capturing, on my recording. I would like to leave that for later. That's a nice tip that I would do because I know there's a lot of processing going on, on the way in. People like to process a lot, and maybe it's good for them. It narrows my options.
Yeah,
I would like to leave my options open about my recordings, and again. When you do that, there's not a lot of room for mistakes.
Yeah.
When you actually do some compression in EQ and you capturing with that, later on you can't really get rid of it. So that's another thing I wouldn't do. Not even vocals, nothing, not even to color the sound. I'm just going through a preamp and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have a philosophy when it comes to mixing of how you want things to sound or how things should work together?
My philosophy is to make it sound the best I can. Mm-hmm. This is what it is. To make the mix serve the song. The song shouldn't serve your mix.
For sure.
You shouldn't make the drums sound crazy because you want people to understand you're a great drum mixer or whatever it is. It's never, you can get, a mix is a compromise all the way. It's a compromise. You can't get everything sound great, but you can get everything sounding great as a whole, not as individual parts. You can have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, if you want to get something bigger, something else should be smaller in the mix. For that moment in the mix, for that moment in the time in the song. So my philosophy is to move with the flow, to understand what the song is, what is it about, how it touches me, and how can I take that thing and lift it up harder and higher to touch as many people that I can, that are listening to that song eventually at the end of the day.
Wow, that's great. So if you could impart some wisdom to somebody getting started in music production today, what would you tell them?
Not to? No, I'm just joking. It's a tough business. I think today's young producers, not even young engineers. I don't know. There's young engineers. I'm not sure there's anymore. Everybody's a producer, right?
Yeah.
So I would say find your way. Find your way. Learn from everybody else. Because if you think, usually when you're young, you think you're like the hottest.
Shit.
You are the shit, exactly. And when you do that, you block yourself for years to understand different way of working.